My name is Ahmed and I am Syrian Kurd. I came from Aleppo, Syria. The country was really a very peaceful country. Syria was one of the most peaceful countries prior to the Syrian uprising to 2011. It was quite peaceful, normal life. I was a student. I was studying English back in Syria. But when this unrest started, the country just descended into a war. It turned to a civil war, a bloody civil war, and it was a very difficult situation there. It all started, the unrest all started in March 2011. It all started as a peaceful protest against, not that the region, they just wanted some reforms, but then things, escalated, then the protest became armed conflict, and the country just turned into from one of the most peaceful countries into one of the most dangerous countries on earth. Well, the reason behind me leaving the country, I tried to stay there. I stayed there as long as I could. One of the main reasons why I had to leave the country is that both conflict parties, they were just recruiting people. Every single person who is between 15, male person, if you're a man between 15 and 45, you don't have an option but to fight either with the regime or with the opposition, even radicals. So it's compulsory recruitment. That's why if you look at the situation in Syria, if you look at the media, the vast majority of people who are coming out of Syria are men, young people. That's why, because the reason behind it is the compulsory, you don't have an option. They need you to fight either with them or the other side. So, and once you are there, if you're fighting, it's not a war. It is a civil war. You've got no enemy. It's just your country, the government, and the opposition. Someone who used to be your friend today is just because of that different ideology, they are fighting you. So, you've got no enemy. It's just a civil war. That's why everybody is not willing to fight. Nobody is willing to, because someone who used to be a friend or whatever. Final thing was my town was under siege for quite a long time back in Syria. There was no electricity there. It's already, even now, there's no electricity there. The infrastructure is totally destroyed. There's no schools. There's no, the water pipelines are all destroyed. What made me leave, that the government, when they tried to take control of the place where I'm living, I had to leave because I was wanted to serve in the military, and I don't want to serve in the military because either I'm going to kill people or people are going to kill me. So I said, no, I'm not going to this, and I just fled. I thought that the situation won't last for long. What I did, I moved from Aleppo to Raqqa. Then from Raqqa I went to Qamishli in the Kurdish area, north of Syria. Then I moved to the Kurdistan region of Iraq. I went to Erbil. I've been there, and I spent quite a long time there working for the refugees and displaced people, because later on, when the Daesh, the Islamic State, attacked Mosul, there been a massive displacement of Iraqis. So I was working for Syrian refugees and for the Iraqi displaced people there. But even there, the situation was getting worse and worse because the country descended into a war because both ISIS and the Kurds, and it was very difficult. And at that time, it was already about 2 years and a half that I haven't seen my family. I haven't heard from them for quite a long time, and I said, enough is enough. I can't do this anymore, because it started affecting me, psychologically and even my well-being. After spending less than 3 years in the Kurdish region of Iraq, I tried to get my family out of my town in Aleppo, but I wasn't able. And my family said, "Don't come here. Just go wherever you, but don't come back to Syria." So I said, I mean, I didn't have option, you know. So what I did, I said, all right, I'm going to make it to the UK. Since I speak the language, you know, I already have got my brothers, three of my brothers, my little brothers, who fled Syria in 2010 and 11. One of them fled to Turkey, and the other two fled to Libya. From there, they moved to Italy, and from Italy, they moved to Germany. It's been more than 2 years now. They are living in Germany. One in Berlin, the other one is in Stuttgart. And they applied for asylum, and now they've got everything still down. They're working there. They got their own businesses. So it was only me. So I made the journey. I returned to Syria, on the Kurdish area, in Kamishli. With the help of a smuggler, I crossed the Tigris River between Syria and Turkey. It was midnight I think it was late May 2015. I moved to Izmir, west of Turkey, northwest, not southwest of Turkey, no, north of Turkey. From there, I was in touch with a group of smugglers. I met them online because these people are quite, you know, they're very famous on Facebook. They've got their closed groups, so they keep posting about the offers that today we've got, you know, a journey from this place to this place. They've got, they are very well organized, and they are really incredible. Not incredible, but the way they are organized, the way they operate is something really amazing. I met a smuggler. He got me in a boat from Bodrum in Turkey to Kos Island in Greece. While I was there, I spent about 2 weeks till I get my papers, you know. From Bodrum to Kos Island, if you're taking a dinghy, it will cost about 700 euros up to 1,000 euros. But if it's a boat, it costs about 1,500 euros up to 2,000 euros. So it cost me about 1,500 euros. While I was in Kos Island, I contacted another smuggler in Athens. And when I moved to Athens, I met him, and I got a fake passport from there. It was a fake Bulgarian passport, which I got, and then I flew to Marseille in France, and then to Calais. I spent about 3 weeks in Calais. The last night in Calais was one of the most awful nights during my journey. One of the smugglers was an Egyptian smuggler. He put me alongside with 7 other Africans from Sudan, Eritrea, and I think he was Libyan maybe. They put us in a tanker, full of flour. They just slip us from the top of the tanker, and they just, they closed the door that they slept. It was literally, we spent about 7 hours inside that tanker. It was, the time we were there, it was 2 in the morning, a.m., up to 8 in the morning. And it was just awful, because while we were there inside the tanker, just like it's all covered with the flour, there was no reception. You couldn't call, you couldn't do anything, and there was even no air. You couldn't, we almost suffocated. We started knocking and knocking and knocking and knocking, but there was nobody answering. But eventually the driver stopped and said, well, this tanker is not heading to the UK. If you want, it's going to England. It's going to Italy. If you want, come sit next to me and you're welcome to go with me. I said, no, thank you very much. So I changed my route and I came back to Calais. From there, I went to Brussels. Then I went to Germany with the support of a smuggler. I mean, he smuggled me. Then I think it was between the German and the Denmark, the borders there. They got me in the back of the lorry, and from there I was smuggled into the UK, and it was somewhere near between Newcastle and Sheffield. So the first place. I mean, I arrived in the UK from there.
And so what did you do once you arrived?
Once I arrived, I just went to the migration. I told them I am Syrian and I just arrived in the UK and I want to apply. I mean, I'm an asylum seeker. What is the process? So they fingerprinted me and they took pictures of me. They investigated about how you came. I've been detained for 1 day. So they made sure that I am not a threat. That they took all the information, the security, about how I came, and then they said, all right, we put you on the system for asylum. So, yeah.
And how long did it take?
It's
you
about
got granted?
3 months and a half till the process was over and I've been granted asylum.
And what did you do during that process whilst you were waiting for asylum?
During that time, you cannot work. I mean, you are not allowed to work. What I did, I spent a lot of time reading, because I spent a lot of time during the journey, so I needed some time to sit, to relax, to forget about this horrible journey. And I volunteered to work with some local NGOs, charities, not NGOs. These people were supporting refugees and asylum seekers. So I spent a lot of time doing translations. Since I speak Arabic, I speak Kurdish. So there were a lot of asylum seekers and refugees who wanted help with the post or the letters or the GB, So I would do some translations and Coast Island. I contacted another smuggler in Athens. And when I moved to Athens, I met him, and I got a fake passport from there. It was a fake Bulgarian passport, which I got, and then I flew to Marseille in France, and then to Calais. I spent about 3 weeks in Calais. The last night in Calais was one of the most awful nights during my journey. One of the smugglers was an Egyptian smuggler. He put me alongside with 7 other Africans from Sudan, Eritrea, and I think he was Libyan maybe. They put us in a tanker, full of flour. They just slip us from the top of the tanker, and they just, they closed the door that they slept. It was literally, we spent about 7 hours inside that tanker. It was, the time we were there, it was 2 a.m, up to 8 in the morning. And it was just off, because while we were there inside the tanker, just like it's all covered with the flour, there was no reception. You couldn't call, you couldn't do anything, and there was even no air. You couldn't, we almost suffocated. We started knocking, but there was nobody answering. But eventually the driver stopped and said, well, this tanker is not heading to the UK. If you want, it's going to England. It's going to Italy. If you want to come sit next to me, and you're welcome to go with me. I said, no, thank you very much. So I changed my route and I came back to Calais. From there, I went to Brussels. Then I went to Germany with the support of a smuggler. He smuggled me. Then I think it was between the German and the Denmark, the borders there. They got me in the back of the lorry, and from there I was smuggled into the UK, and it was somewhere near between Newcastle and Sheffield. So the first place. I arrived in the UK from there. From Bodrum to Coast Island, if you're taking a dinghy, it will cost about 700 euros up to 1,000 euros. But if it's a boat, it costs about 1,500 euros up to 2,000 euros. So it cost me about 1,500 euros. The situation in the Middle East is quite complicated at the moment, especially when it comes to, when it comes to the situation in camps. At the beginning of the Syrian crisis, there were a lot of support for the refugee appeals, for the UN. But in the last 2 years, because the Syrian crisis has been prolonged and for quite a long time, the donors started feeling, there's something called donors fatigue, that they are tired of because there have been many conflicts, like they've been in Poland, they've been in the Ukraine, they've been in Yemen, so the money started going to other places. This is one of the main reasons that the UN started cutting the food parcels for the Syrians in Jordan, in Turkey, And if you look at the situation, like in the Middle East, in summer there were very hot summers. Sometimes it gets 55 Celsius, especially in Iraq, very hot summers, and these people living under the tents. It was a very appalling situation. At the same time in Turkey, and even in the Kurdish region of Iraq, during the winter, this area, it's just freezing during the winter, and people started feeling like they are fed up. They had to flee the country for a certain 3 weeks, or they thought they could be 6 months, then we will be back. But things have been for the last 2-3 years, and people said, well, we've got children, we've got a lot of newborn babies who've got no documents, they've got no right to education. They are going to education, but if they go back to Syria, nobody's going to recognize them. You've got a lot of newborn babies stateless. And this is one of the main reasons. The entire region of the Middle East, conflict in Turkey, east of Turkey, unrest in Lebanon. Jordan is again affected by the Syrian conflict. Iraq is under a huge pressure from ISIS and all these radicals, and the internal, troubles with the government, the federal government, with the Kurds and the Sunnis and the Shia. So it's very much complicated, which is not supporting to the cause of the refugees. So it's very difficult. I want to take the advantage of being here in the UK, first of all, to get my family out of Syria. Secondly, to have my master's. What I'm trying to do is, now there are many universities across the UK, they are offering a free scholarships for Syrians. And I've been in touch with some of these universities. What I'm trying to do is to get one of these scholarships, and I want to get my master's, in development or sustainable development, or even post-conflict development. Because once once I'm a qualified, academically qualified person, I can go back to the Middle East to help my people there. Because this is my intention. I want to take the advantage of being here to be a qualified person academically, and I've got already the experience and the expertise, so I'll be kind of an organized person to be ready to go back and support the efforts to rebuild the country and help the people there. After this war is over, the country is in ruin, It needs a lot of time, it needs a lot of efforts, it needs a lot of things to do to support rebuilding it. And I owe a lot of this country, I was born there, I've got my education there, I've got my entire life there, so I want to be back there. Once you are granted asylum in the UK, you have the right to work. You apply for the national insurance number. Once you get it, you can go anywhere and apply for a job. And while you're looking for a job, the Department of Work and Pension, through the job center, they support you with allowance to get living, So they give you an allowance while you're trying to find a job. So they support you with the advice, the advice how to find a job, how to improve your CV, the covering letters and stuff like that. So I think it's a good start. I mean, it's tough, but it's good. I'm living with an English family. It's a British family, because I've been asked to evacuate to leave my accommodation, which was supported by the Home Office. So because I'm not an asylum seeker anymore, I am a refugee. So I've been given 20 days aid notice to leave, and I didn't have my national insurance number at that time, so it was very difficult for me. So what I did, I posted on Facebook and asking for help, and just for a few days, if someone is willing to host me or give me a room. And there were a lot of people texted me, they called me, they said, you're welcome to stay with us. And I just moved to live with one of the families here. Once I arrived, I just went to the migration. I told them I am Syrian and I just arrived in the UK, and I want to apply. I mean, I'm an asylum seeker. What is the process? So they fingerprinted me and they took pictures of me. They investigated about how you came. I've been detained for 1 day. So they made sure that I am not a threat. That they took all the information, the security, about how I came. And then they said, all right, we put you on the system for asylum. So 3 months and a half till the process was over and I've been granted asylum. During that time, you cannot work. I mean, you are not allowed to work. What I did, I spent a lot of time reading, because I spent a lot of time during the journey, so I needed some time to sit, to relax, to forget about this horrible journey. And I volunteered to work with some local NGOs, charities, not NGOs. These people were supporting refugees and asylum seekers. So I spent a lot of time doing translations. Since I speak Arabic, I speak Kurdish. So there were a lot of asylum seekers and refugees who wanted help with the post or the letters or the GP, so I would do some translations. And this is a very good question, actually. Sometimes when you go online, people are kind of afraid and worried about, well, look, these people are coming, we don't know about them and stuff like that. But in reality, the amount of hospitality, the way people treated me and welcomed me is really overwhelming. It's just really overwhelming. I mean, it was amazing. I've been hosted by an English family. I've made a lot of friends. There's been a lot of support in terms of job, in guidance, in advice. I mean, even just putting a smile and while speaking to you is something incredible. I mean, a smile sometimes can mean a lot. Refugees or migration, if you look at the history, migration has never been a problem. Whenever you've got migration, you've got diversity, you've got job opportunities, you've got a lot of things. Like see what happened after the World War II, after Germany was defeated by the Allies. The country was in rubbles, it was totally destroyed. Yet it was the Turks, the Polish, the migrants from all over the world who came to Germany, and now they're among one of the most successful nations on earth. Yet, like, if you look at this year, in 2015, Germany is taking over 1 million refugees. And if you compare it to this country, I mean, it's nothing. It's taking 20,000 Syrians within 5 years, which the number that Germany is taking within 1 day. So I think, on the other side as well, these people, no one whatsoever the reason is willing to leave his house, his country, his homeland. For example, for us Syrians, I mean, why a person who was born in Syria, studied in Syria, speaks, knows the language back in Syria, knows the people, knows the culture, knows the history, knows everything about the country, would suddenly leave it and come to the UK with no idea about the language, the culture, the people, the system? Why would they bother? There is something putting them, I mean, putting pressure on them to leave their countries. This is simply. The family there, the area where I'm coming from is under siege. So it's been more than 3 years that there's nothing called electricity. The infrastructure, I mean, the town has been under attack by the radicals, by the opposition, by Bashar al-Assad forces, I mean, the government, by Hezbollah, by Iranians, by Iraqis. It's a very complicated situation there. You know, everyone wanted to take control of it, and as a Kurd, you know, everybody was trying to take advantage and play card of the Kurdish. I mean, you cannot walk. The area is under siege. There's been a long time that people, they couldn't get a walk. I mean, there was no food. People were just simply eating grass, you know. I mean, at some certain point, some people started eating animals, like they started slaughtering their dogs and their cats just in order to survive. And we witnessed this. It's a very difficult situation. I wasn't able to get in touch with them recently. There is no electricity, and once you don't have, I mean, even the reception towers, and they've all been, I mean, blown up. So, no news is good news, as the English say. No news is good news. They will be fine as long as there's no news. I hope they will be fine. I mean, you know, there's a bad news travel fast. So. I mean, it's heartbreaking. I told you, it's really it's awful. If you look at the figures, they're awful figures. You've got 5.5 million internally displaced people. You've got 4.5 million people taking refuge in the neighboring countries. You've got over 1 million people injured. You've got more than 250,000 people killed, lost their lives, you know. You've got over 4,000 schools totally destroyed. You've got over 3 million children out of school there. And, I mean, more than 50% of the hospitals in the country are out of their service, either destroyed or severely damaged. This is awful. I mean, this is very, very, very appalling, you know. I'm sure that this conflict, this war, would come to an end. I don't know when, but no war will last forever. And that's why I'm hopeful that, hopefully, with the support of the countries, with the coalition, they will put an end to this human tragedy. I think one of the most crucial things to help people while in the Middle East, that you need to understand the context, you need to know the trauma, the horrible situation that these people are going through. I mean, you've got millions of people staying in the Middle East in the hope that the conflict would come to an end. So it's very good to know the situation there, what's happening there. It's very well to be educated about the conflict, the parties there. At the same time, I mean, raising awareness, you know, supporting refugees, advocating for the right of refugees and asylum seekers would be a great help, because these people are crossing an entire continent. They're taking mountains and rivers and seas, and they're taking all these horrible, you know, things just to arrive to somewhere that they could hopefully later on have a safe future for their children.